Taking the temperature of the future is more the job of science fiction, and believe it or not, one of the world's most successful science fiction authors is from right here in Northern Ireland. Ian McDonald was born in Manchester but grew up and still lives in North Down. Since his first novel, Desolation Road, in 1988, he's published a further 12 novels, 3 story collections and a couple of novellas, and sold them in huge quantities all over the world. I've been a fan for a long time, so it was great to meet up with him for a chat in Belfast this week. Your science fiction career began in Central Station in Belfast, a fairly unusual venue for such a thing.
The magazine shop in Central Station had the first copy of Extra, Northern Ireland's one and only short-lived but very, very glossy science fiction magazine, which I bought and read and had that classic writer thing of, I can do that. And yep, I can do that better. And it kind of went on from there. The first science fiction thing I ever saw was when my mum took me at the age of 5 and put me on a sofa and said, "Watch this on television," and it was Mike Mercury and Supercar, which was an early Jerry Anderson supermarionation puppet series.
Supercar, with beauty and grace, fast as can be, watch it flying through the air. It travels in space or under the sea, and it can journey anywhere. Supercar.
The kind of science fiction that you are writing is not what some of our listeners would associate with that genre. You're not writing space operas, you're not writing the classic 1950s or Star Trek style science fiction.
I have written that kind of science fiction for about the past 10, 12 years though. I'd be more interested in kind of what's happening in the near future, the way that technology and social change and maybe resource shortage and environmental change, how that might shape possible futures in the next 30 to 40, 50 years or so. So the first one in the series was set in 2047 in India. The next one was set in 2032 in Brazil. The Dervish House is set in Turkey in 2027.
Why do you think that science fiction is a good way to look at that?
Science fiction gives you loads of useful satirical tools to kind of examine a society, take it apart, amplify certain things, distort certain things, and kind of get to a truth. The Alien is always a fantastic way of doing it, kind of an outside view of the world. I did a book years ago, actually set in Belfast, oddly enough, called Sacrifice of Fools, which was basically a remix of the movie Alien Nation. The movie hordes of aliens come settle in Los Angeles, and I just moved the whole thing to Northern Ireland, so you have Catholics, Protestants, and a whole heap of aliens as well. And that is quite a useful tool for kind of looking at the dynamics in Northern Ireland society.
Well, you do seem to foresee a near future in teeming, developing world cities with tens of millions of people. In these enormous cities, relatively ordinary technological changes can have huge social effects. That's another area you're interested in.
One of the things I do write about is that everyone gets technology at the same time. It's not kind of first world and then third world. When a smartphone rolls out, everyone gets it everywhere all at once, but they all do different things with it.
The classic example of an ordinary technological change that's come out of left field and had this effect in the developing world are mobile phones in Africa.
And in fact, they're far ahead of us for mobile phone cash. In fact, they're giving ideas to the West about how to basically have a cashless society and carry everything on your phone and keep it secure, and also if you lose your phone, it doesn't mean you're absolutely strapped for cash until you get it replaced.
Well, would anyone have foreseen that the centre of financial innovation in the 21st century would be Lagos?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because West Africa is an area I'm very, very interested in at the moment, actually. I mean, I think it's where the next boom is going to come. Lagos, Accra, the whole kind of West Africa superstate almost kind of thing is where the new ideas are going to come from and where the new technologies are going to emerge. And I think there'll be players in about 20, 30 years' time.
While we're waiting for that to happen, you're working on a very interesting project here, E8. Can you tell me about that?
16 7-minute films, each freestanding, with each part of an overall narrative arc. Basically, you could view them all as one big story linking together. And each of the films would go out on the web and will be the basis for ARG gaming activity, using your mobile phone, using the internet, meeting up, hiding little messages, things like that. We've taken the basic core of the story, which is that paranoid idea that everyone's had at some time, that we aren't real and that what we think reality actually appeared 2 or 3 days ago, complete with all our memories and everything and history built in, that the world a few days ago was a very, very different place. And it's taking that kind of vaguely kind of paranoid sense, marrying it to some high energy physics. And so there's some kind of reality bending, shaping, warping stuff in that.
Well, is there any future then left for the book? That's your basic medium with all this going on.
The book as a printed medium is still the major way that people read rather than reading off a screen. I mean, 4 or 5 times as many books, especially in mass market paperback, are sold than ebooks. There is something nice and sensual about actually taking a book out and opening it up. Open the covers, you're into a whole other world inside.
Ian McDonald imagining the future.